you're on, say hi. If you're getting on, welcome. What's up, Facebook user? So I gotta get my cheat sheet on here to see whose Facebook user is because I don't see your name. What you got to do is do this. Go to chat.restream.io/FB to show your name. Otherwise, I'm gonna go on my Facebook and see who is commenting. So give me a second while I do that. Hi, Marion. How you doing today? All right, I'm just taking a second to get on. Dun, 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 dun. Sorry, guys. Boom, there we go. Where's the live at? There's a live. Liz, what's up, Liz? How many usernames you got, Liz? I thought I saw your name last time you were here. See, Marion Origar, it's Liz. What's up, Liz? So this is Liz, Marion. All right. So today's topic, we're gonna talk about inflation and saving and other stuff, whatever comes to the mind. I'm gonna turn on the chat so that way you guys have the chats and you guys can see that and not have to go on there. I'm also gonna send a copy of the link for Liz to see her name up here. Where is it? Where is it? Where's the live? Where's the live? There it is. Okay. All right. So there you go, Liz. I put it in the chats as well. You can click on that. You have to give Facebook permission one time to show your name and your profile picture. It's a one-time thing. It's per group. If you've done it for WFR or TinWiz or anything like that, it's pretty much the same thing. Wherever restreaming is being used to do these live streams, you have to do that through Facebook. It is a Facebook thing, not a restream thing. Any hoots, hope everybody's doing great. We'll get started with our topic today. So right off the top, what is inflation? Let's talk about the simple thing. What is inflation? Okay, anybody wants to comment on that, you can. I'll give it a few seconds for people to catch up. Otherwise, we'll start talking about it. All right, so inflation basically it's the increase in prices and value of product. It goes up every year. Whether you like it or not, it goes up. Inflation happens. Inflation is never gonna stop. It's gonna keep on going until end of time. So, for example, let's put this up here. How much will $100 be worth in 10 years? Increases in prices and value. So it's based on value. Okay, so it's just not like they're just gonna raise your value goes up and increases in pricing because of cost of goods and everything that's affected by it. If it costs you to make more, your product price is gonna go up, your service is gonna go up. If you have to increase payroll, if you have other stuff that increases over time, it just keeps on going up. So how much would your $100 be worth in 10 years? Anybody want to give a guess? I'll take guess. George, change our government, man. Changing our government does not do anything. Okay. Yes, that is a help, but it's would we, you know, well, you know what? Never mind. I'll take that back. Yes, changing government will help. It's the government's policy. It's the trading. It's what we have in value. It's what we produce as a country. Like it's all of that stuff. Put it all together. The government does regulate what is coming in, what kind of increases are on there, what kind of taxations on there, what kind of duties on there, all that stuff. Yes, that can make that. Same thing with what we exporting out. How much is government taking a chunk of that? So all of that makes uh, makes that change happen. Marion, I will tell you, in 10 years, it will not be worth $92. I'll give you one more guess, Marion. I will give you one more guess. Anybody else wants to take a guess at what $100 will be worth in 10 years? This is I like this one. This one is pretty cool. You're getting close, Marion. You're getting very close, but you got to go down another $12 or $12 to $14. So in 10 years, your $100 is going to be worth around $68 to $72, depending on the inflation rate. What's been going on and what's happening. That's how much. If you put that money, if you take $100, or let's say you take $1 million and put it under your bed and sleep on it, that $1 million in 10 years is going to be worth about $700,000, give or take a little bit. So let's put that question up here. How much will $1 million will be worth in 30 years? Okay, so take a guess at that. Right off the top, some mathematic equations already, and everybody's like, God damn it, this is how we start off this stream. Get you to start thinking early on Monday evening to get the week going for you guys. You gotta play with some of these numbers. I think it's fun to know the numbers. Half of that. George, you are close, but not quite. A little bit more than that. Marian, it's more than 300. So in 30 years, your $1 million is going to be worth right a little bit over $400,000. It's all good. It's all good. That's why we have calculators. No, not 550, George. It's gonna be about 400. What they're estimating is about 410. Is if inflation is going the way it's going, and the way inflation is based on what the history is going and what the changes are happening and what those percentage are. So, few more numbers. You know what the oh damn, I'm having a brain fart right here. Inflation rate for the last 20 years. Okay, from 2000, well, not the last 20 years. Let's say from 2000 to 2020, inflation rate was only about a little bit over 2%, right under 3%. So on average, everybody that based inflation rate, because over the 20-25 year basis, it's been around about 3%. So whenever you're looking at inflation happening, and you're calculating your savings and your investments and all that stuff, you're always calculating above 3%. So the next topic is, saving. The reason I bring both of these together is you have to understand inflation before you start your saving, because if you're just saving under your mattress, you're literally losing money if there's no gain on that saving on a regular basis. And even if there is a gain, let's say you're putting in a regular savings account and that is paying you a 0.01% on your saving, you're still losing that money, because if you're not equaling 3% or more, you're losing every year. That's why knowing the numbers and knowing what inflation is, what the numbers the inflation comes with, what the history is, what the prediction is, what the current inflation rate is makes a big difference. Especially with the last 3 years. Last 3 years has been a big impact, big change. Okay, so let's just go back 3 years. Prior to COVID, inflation rate for 2020 was 1.4. What do you think was inflation rate for 21? Give me some guesses on this, guys. I'll give it a minute for everybody to put in their numbers. Give me just wild guesses. I don't care. Inflation rate for 2021. 2020 was 1.4. George Googled it. It was 7%. You are right, George. 7%. Inflation rate for 2022 was 6.5. Almost right about 7 again. So if you're just looking at that 3% is nothing compared to that 7, man. That's more than double. And the 20 years prior, like I said, we're looking at 20 years, and typically when you're doing these kind of maths, you're typically looking at a history of a 20 or 25 years, okay? And that's why I threw that 1 million for 30 years, is that in 30 years, that $1 million is only worth 411 if you just put it under the mattress, or if you put it in a regular savings account and you're only getting a 0.001, you're still under a $500,000 worth of value after 30 years. Now, if we're looking at the 7%, that $1 million isn't going to be worth almost nothing in 30 years if we keep at that percentage. Now, the good news is in 2023, so far we're past the first quarter, halfway in the second quarter, and our inflation rate is right around 5%. So 7, 6.5, about 5. So we're starting to kind of come down. So we can't base it off 1 year, because inflation rate is based usually on 20, 25 years again. There's ups, there's downs. So you can't just take those 3 years only, but you got to look at the average of 20, 25 years to base that on. But basing on what has happened lately and how the economy is doing worldwide as well as the US, most likely our inflation rate for the next 20 years is going to be close to 4.5 to 5%. So if you are planning to save or planning to invest, you have to know that whatever you're doing, it has to be above 5% for it to be effective, for you to be like, hey, in my 10 years, is my $1 million still $1 million? Is my $100,000 still $100,000? Whatever your number is, that it equals that or more. Okay, so then we have to look at who benefits from inflation. Okay, so who's gonna benefit when inflation happens? So the oldest most people know. Give me a guess. What do you think is not affected by inflation a lot? There's one thing that should come out to people's mind right off the top. I'll give you a hint. It's a form of currency. Any guesses? All right. Well, it's one of the oldest trading currency out there. Yes, Marion, 100%. Gold, because gold is still base of your currency. The US dollar is now starting to be Bitcoin. We wish Bitcoin was at that. You know, a lot of people have done really well on Bitcoin, but a lot of people have lost on Bitcoin. But gold is the oldest trading currency in the world. It is still used till this day, and it's still most of your currency is based off of gold. For the US, it wasn't for a while, but it's starting to go back. And that is one of the reasons why the US dollar is also taking a hit because of gold. But gold, a lot of people, especially you'll see in Europe and a lot of these um, other countries, they value a lot more on gold because gold is something that increases with inflation, so it doesn't really lose its value. It keeps up pretty well. The other thing that keeps up pretty well, and it has the highs and downs, is obviously real estate. Whether it's commercial or residential, real estate typically has a good incline and it gains you money even with the ups and downs with the market crashes and all that stuff. If you look at real estate property that you got 10 years ago or 20 years ago, overall it's gonna hold up its value pretty decently, and it's usually gonna be above that inflation rate for what you bought it for. Again, we're basing this on typically 20 and 25 year. Okay, so a property that you bought in 2003, value of it today, and in count the inflation rate, your value should still be pretty good above that inflation rate. So those are a couple of things that hold the value. Other thing that's holding value lately is going to be your materials like, you know, art, collectible items. Now, those things are subject to people that value it. So they may be doing good right now, but is it universally uh, valued equally? Well, some of the art stuff that you value in the US may not be valued in Europe. Or some of the stuff that's valued in Europe, a certain thing is not valued at the US. That depends on who it is. But gold in Europe, gold in US, gold in Africa, gold in Asia, they're all gonna value very close to each other, and gold's gonna hold its value. Same thing with the real estate. Real estate is only gonna go up, and it's gonna beat that inflation rate 90% of the time. If you play the long game, okay, if you're looking at short term, that is not gonna happen. We have Tim C. Johnson in the house. What's up, bro? Hey, what's up, everybody? Late, but had to get ice cream after our softball win. Hell yeah, man. I just had a sandwich myself. My kids got the sandwiches the other day, and I had to sneak one in. I'm trying to diet, but damn, I couldn't help myself. Have Hunter's painting. All right, those have took a hit because today's generation is not into collectibles and antiques. Well, it depends on how you look at that, George. So because they don't value it, they're still growing up and they're still understanding it, but the people that are our age or older, they're giving it more value because there's less and less of it because a lot of it has been either destroyed or lost or something happened like a fire or whatever. So yes, the new generation does not look at art, and that's why I say in the long term, art may not be something that will hold its value in the really long term, or certain art will and certain art will not. That's where gold and real estate properties are probably going to hold more value. Baseball, baseball cards, they're holding their value really well. You got Pokemon cards. People are spending crazy money for that. But how long is that going to last? Okay. What if in 5 or 10 years there's another sport that's more prominently looked at or whatever? I'm not saying baseball is going to go away anytime soon, but I'm just saying it's a probability. Okay. It can happen. All right, so we got some chatters in here now. Let's take ahead because today's generation is not collectible antiques. We got that. Just got in from work. Damn, VW Jetta. Trip Turner, what's up, brother? How you doing today? I know how those VWs are, man. Just like all cars, the new generation is not into them. Exactly, man. I mean, look, we we go crazy on some of the old stuff, and a lot of these kids now they want the big screens, they want all the electronics, and all the BS that don't really last. Honestly, give you an example. My brother bought a new LG refrigerator not even a year ago, and the damn thing's already giving out. So I bought a Samsung stove, whole kitchen stuff for my wife 2 years ago. I've already had to service it twice, man. So the new stuff is built crappy because it has too much features on there. It's not made to last. What year? I had a 91 LTD that kicked my butt. Got it done. Hey, man, I had a Corvette in today. It was fun. Just getting in that vet, driving it in, driving it out. Ooh. I'm drooling already. 2013. Baseball cards only Hall of Fame are worth anything. I'm exactly. I mean, there's less and less. Doing fine. How everybody else is good. All right. Trip Cash is giving away a VW tonight. Stick around. I'm listening, Marion. I'm listening. Let's get it. I'm not playing. Yeah, if he plays, he's gonna take that VW himself. That makes a difference. All right, for the guys that are coming in late, when I got into a Corvette, I couldn't get out. I learned a trick. Okay, so I had the same problem years ago, but I learned how to get in and out of sports car. Or believe it or not, it was by Super Blonde or whatever that girl is that does those high-end cars. The way to get in and out of these sports car is that you have to turn around, put your ass in first, then move your feet in, and boom, no crawling out. And same opposite way out. You have to turn out of the seat, put your feet out first, and then exit out. If a big dude like me can get in and out, Marion, you got no problem. Yes, I crawled out of a vehicle myself too. But yes, that is the way she taught that a few years ago. Because I remember crawling out of another sports car. I think it was an older vet that I crawled out of. And I was on my hands and knees and everything. So it was embarrassing. Yeah, a lot of people follow her. She's got like now a whole crew of lookalikes or followers that are trying to do the same thing. Easier said than done. You can't. You gotta try it. I don't know what it's called, bro. Honestly, I don't. All right. So going back to what we had going on, we talked about inflation, what it is. We talked about how much $100 will be worth in 10 years, how much $1 million will be worth in 30 years, who benefits. That's what we were talking about. And then we talked about the inflation rates, where they're at right now, where they've been historically, where they're headed. So quick rundown on that, guys. If you're late and you're catching on, inflation rate right now this year is at 5%. Last year was 6.5%. Year before that was 7%. And in 2020, before COVID, or actually beginning of COVID, I guess 2020 was COVID, but it was still 1.4. The big effect happened in 21, 22, and now it's starting to go down. But listen to that. Before that, 2000 to 2020, 20-year historical rate for inflation was under 3%. What is the forecast for the next, let's say 10 or 20 years? Well, some are saying between 4 and 5%. Some are saying it can be between 5 and 6%, all the way up to 7%. So the reason we talk about inflation is, before we talk about saving, we have to understand inflation. Okay, for that is that if you take your $100 and you put it under your mattress, or you put it into a typical savings account, in a year that $100 is not worth $100. In 10 years, it's not worth that $100. In 30 years, it's not worth that $100. It's going to keep on losing its value. So if you go with today's inflation rate at 5%, next year your $100 is only worth $95. Okay, that $100,000 in 10 years, when we were talking about how much is $100,000 worth, it was worth close to $70,000. So lost over $30,000 worth of value. $1 million in 30 years is only going to be worth about $400,000. That's going to lose about $600,000 worth of value. That's what inflation does with your money. So when you're saving money, before you save money, you need to understand what money's value is and how inflation affects it and makes that change. What's up, Richard? So that's the gist of it, guys. Oh, and we got Rick Tallman. What's up? What's up, Rick Tallman? Welcome, brother. All right, so that's inflation. If you missed it, I just gave a recap. So, you may want to rewatch it afterwards. But inflation rate is currently at a little bit over 5%. It's been historically under 3%, but because of the change after COVID, it's been close to 7%, and it's predicted to stay around 5 or higher percent. So if you're gonna start saving or investing, what you need to understand is count your inflation rate in. If you're gonna stick that money under the bed and say, hey, I'm gonna save this money, understand that $100 next year is 95. The year after that is 90, and so on and so on and so on. So by 10 years, that $100 is only going to be worth about less than $70, probably close to $55, $60 the way the inflation rate is going. So saving money in a jar in the ground lose value due to inflation. Boom, right there. Rick, you got it right on the head, bro. So just spend all of it now? Pretty much, man. Maybe that's the way to get away from from the inflation. But that's pretty much what a lot of time what they want you to do is they put this money out because they expect most of it to be used or spent. Anyone who wants to invest, DMV. Okay, George has got some ideas, man. So next thing is, let's look at savings. Okay, so we're gonna look at savings. Let's go to that. Oh, did I lose my thing? Okay, so what is saving? So saving Don't smoke the weed. Spend it on weed. Don't smoke the weed. Sell it. Hey, if you want quick cash, man, that's what you need to do is you need to get that weed. Don't smoke it and sell it. That's Richard's advice. So I don't know if anybody wants to take that, depending on what state you're in. That may be legal and may not be legal. So be advised. Just like that tent law. Just because you want that 5%, don't come back tomorrow if you get a ticket for it. uh, all right. Okay, so Rick wants to go right into the needy and greedy, where we can find the highest percentage returns in general. Uh, that easiest way is the reason I put this up in. Let me put this back up here, going back to saving. Is it better to save or is it better to invest? So Rick just asked this question. Well, saving is never going to get you the return that an investment will. But there's a but, and it's a pretty big but. Saving is a lot safer because your saving is 99% of the time is not going to be lost. Investment, however, has the highest amount of return, but does come with the high risk of losing your investment. So, and Richard, I agree with you. Just like you, there's a lot of people that like that big butts. So the people that like the big butts sometimes can really benefit from it, or sometimes can be crushed with that big butt. So I cannot lie either, my friend. I'm not lying. However you want to take that, big butts do come with its benefits and its flaws. Okay? So if you're gonna invest, please know the risk of investment has chance of losing. Now, I mean, the only how do I put this? Okay, so some of there are some investments that have a lower risk of um you losing all your funds, or there are some guaranteed investments that will not let you lose money, but at the same time, those investments, and they may be something like IULs and stuff like that, they have a cap. Okay, so they're not a hot. They're considered low to medium risk investments, just like you're investing 401k like in a Fortune 500 or 300 and stuff like that, in those type of situations, compared to, let's say, you're just investing in a single product like Apple, like Tesla. If you're investing in something like Tesla right now, if you're just doing an individual item, it only depends on that one individual item, and they can either have a high increase for you, or they can take a nosedive and you can lose it all. Where if you're investing in something like in Fortune 500 or the 300 or whatever, those are typically based off on a whole bunch of portfolio, and it depends on how the portfolio is doing as a combo. So in portfolios, there are high performance and there's low performance, but on average, a lot of time what you can do is you can average out around 8 to 9% on some of these investments. And these investments are typically, like I said, done usually in IULs and other forms of investments that will give you that kind of stuff. All right, so just there's more homework to be done on that. So let me go back into here. We got Kiwi Cash. I don't like Kiwi, but highest percentage return in is Vegas if you win. Roulette table is the place to be at, man. If you can play those numbers, it's a numbers game. Blackjack will get you. Ask me how I know. Richard likes big butts. Okay, I cannot lie. All right, laugh my ass off. Okay. Or could you lose the big butt? We got that one. George got some of the big butts. You'll have to tie a 4x4 to you so you don't fall in. I mean, you gotta have some kind of security somewhere. All right, singing capped at 10K, I think. IULs are not capped at 10K. IULs are capped at a percentage. So it depends on how much you invest in there. Most IULs are capped at 13-15%. But IULs typically have a 0 percent loss as well, guaranteed on it. So the way the IUL works is they work off that 20-25 year base. They will not lose your money, but the years that they get money made, they're gonna cap you at 13 or 15%. The years they tank or they take a loss, they don't impact that to you because you're locked in for typically a 30-year process with them. So those are typically how that works because they're playing the game off the 20-year, mathematics or the history of it, and that's how they do the forecasting. 8 to 9% is fire. Yes, definitely. If you're looking at 3 to 5% inflation, 8 to 9, you're still gaining 4 to 5%. You're still, accumulating money, and that just so CDs don't have a high percent in returns. It says, oh, quickie. That was Kiwi. Sorry, it's quickie. Like quick. I got you. 13% flooding, 5% each year. Yes, of course. Now, Marion, 13% is the max. Okay, it is not where you're gonna averagely get. On averagely, you're gonna get around 8 and 9%. That's what historically has happened. That's where Rick was saying 8 and 9% is fire. And that's like say that's and mostly like an IUL. And the cool thing with IULs and lately I've seen 2-3 posts on TF Tenor for a Cause, and also in other forums. People that's on hard times right now, and then they're asking for help and all that stuff, which I love helping out on Tenor for Cause. But at the same time, the whole program for this, the purpose of this program is to educate our fellow tenters and for you guys to have some kind of savings, some kind of a backup plan, and some kind of insurance or something that protects you in case something like, where you have some hard time or that comes in. So my goal on this program is to give you all the essentials and all the basics, and hopefully a lot of you guys can gain some of this information and utilize it and be better off on it. So tomorrow, if you come on hard times, you're not asking for the helping hand, or you don't need it, or it's not as big of a burn on yourself or your family. Worst case scenario, we talked about this before, and I'm still working on getting these people in here, is like having these IULs. What does these IULs mean? Well, it's an investment tool, but it's also a security as well. So in case something happens to you, your loved ones are taken care of or not enough financial burden. Okay, so Richard, going to your question on the screen, how do I feel about CDs? I say CDs are okay. CDs are definitely a low risk, but at the same time, on CDs, what is your gain? Most CDs are not above 5%. From again, it could be I could be wrong on it. There could be some CDs that are above that, but right now we went from a 3-year average inflation rate to now being at 5 or higher percent inflation rate. So whatever you're gonna invest in, mutual bonds, CDs, any of that stuff, you want to make sure that you're beating that inflation rate, at least by good 3%. for you to really gain something in the long run. If you're not beating it by 3%, you know, then it's really you're still risking that money. You might as well take it to Vegas and do that. I'm just joking. Okay, don't take that advice. Don't go to Vegas on that money and put it all on red. Uh, that is a very high risk, man. That's a 50-50, and you may lose it all. You may just double up. But yeah, you know, you got to know these numbers. I know your 3 hours. Life saving, all on red. But yeah, guys, that's where the numbers are. My goal for a lot of you guys ultimately is to have at least a 6 months reserve. Okay, actual savings separate from the reserve, and some kind of a life insurance. Um, Hopefully with some benefits. Okay, when I talk about benefits in life insurance, there are what they call riders that gives you benefits in case you're still living and something happens. Okay, like you lose a limb and you're not able to do your job. Okay, there's benefits for that. You're not able to dress yourself or feed yourself. There's live-in benefits for that, where they actually pay somebody to come in and help you out and do that, because your insurance, typical health insurance, is not gonna do that, or rehabilitation. Okay, like they're not gonna pay for a whole bunch of rehab. They're gonna pay for very minimal. Okay, those are some of the things that you have to start considering once you have your debt paid off, you have a savings built up, and you can easily afford these things and consistently pay for it. The point is to do it for a long term, year round, without hackling yourself, or has, whatever you want to put it, without straining yourself, basically. I sometimes get too excited and lose words, man. I'm sorry. But, going back to, is it better to save or invest your money? Again, depends on your situation. If you feel like you don't want to take the risk on it, save your money. Just save enough that you understand that you are losing in just saving. You may want to uh, do this. How much you save? How much of your savings should you invest? Sorry. So you can save, but then you can take some of that savings and invest, so that way you can beat that inflation rate and kind of level out. So that way your $100 that you're putting in saving, if you're gaining 5% on the investment, or 8 or 9% on partial of that, let's say 50% is in your savings, solid saving, 50% is an investment like an IUL, and you're getting 8-9%. Well, then you're still compensating for that, almost 5%, and you're not really losing out on that money. So you're still have a guaranteed funds, you have guaranteed savings, okay, and investment that kind of fluctuate and kind of keeps at that 100 to be true 100 in 10 years. That's another way a lot of people will play the game to be better at it. Now, again, you can invest more heavily, and you can go invest individual. Like I said, we're talking about Tesla, Pepsi. There are so many companies out there you can go individually invest on. Those are your high risk investments. Now, you can double your money on those investments real quick if they do really well. But at the same time, they can crash and you can lose everything. So, and it typically happens. It happens here and there. You hear about it all the time. If you invest heavy and you're doing a high risk, the reason it's a high risk is because you have a risk of losing it. So knowing these numbers and how to play with them is gonna give you your benefits according to that. All right. Okay. Where are we at here? Is it better to save or invest your money? We talked about that. What's the difference between investment and saving? I think we kind of covered this question, but I did put this up there earlier. What is the difference between investment and saving? Investment, like I said, is basically you're investing and taking a chance on it. Well, yeah, I mean, just like anything, Trip, high risk is gonna have higher rewards, but at the opposite flip side, it does have it's a high risk for a reason. You do have chance of losing it. Again, guys, I'm I everybody wishes and hopes and prays for all the best stuff, but the reality of the world is the world isn't great. The world isn't always rewarding. You know, the income isn't always there for you like you planned out. So planning and covering your ass is, you know, go risk out there. You know, if your dream is to own a shop, go own a shop, but know the reality of what it comes with, the headaches, the struggles. It's not a 9 to 5 clock in, clock out. You're gonna bust your ass. Yes, you may bust your ass for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and ultimately have a whole bunch of employees and have a successful business like everybody plans on and does, and kick ass after some years and sit back and gain on those rewards. But, you know, like a lot of people out there, and some of them are really bad at like homeless situations, is because they risk, risked it all. They lost it all. There's a lot of homeless stories out there that, hey, you know, a lot of people love food and think food is always gonna get them money. You know, restaurant business is a really profitable business if you have a good restaurant that does well. But at the same time, do you know 8 out of 10 restaurants fail? That is a 80% chance of losing. Look that up. Most restaurants, they make 70% profit. Their cost of operation is typically 30% if they're doing well, if they have it done right. But then there's guys that don't have the experience, don't have all the knowledge, don't have all the fundings, and don't have the customers right, and they struggle. And then they may be in it 80, 90, or 110% in it. And before they realize, they lose everything because they have a dream and they want to invest in that dream. So, well wishes for everybody, hoping for the best, but wake up and face the reality at the same time. Don't lose what the reality is. I'm saying it needs to go hand in hand, guys. And I'm not here to disencourage anybody or put anybody down. I'm just saying, man, just be wise about your investments, your dreams. Make sure you're not jeopardizing yourself or your family when you go achieve your dreams. You know, that's why a lot of guys in tinting, man, it's better to go tint for somebody for a couple years, get good experience, get a good handle on it before you go open up your own shop. Because you get to know the ins and out of it. Now you're experienced. Now you also know the business side of it at the same time. You've got Jordan, Shady J. He has a concept like, hey man, I'm cool with the owner owning the place. I just want to run it. As long as I'm getting paid decent, I'm fine with it. And then you got guys that want to like go crush it day one. Whatever works, just know the reality both ways, that it can go either way. If you do well, you're gonna kill it. Now, if you don't do well, you might be a great tinter, but uh, if you don't have the advertisement or the location or the networking or what it needs to run a business or the funds to make sure that your business stays afloat for it to pick up, you may crash. Just know those realities. Again, not trying to be negative, man. I try to stay away from this, but I always want to advise you guys the right way, man. The drive helps. You know, drive is what pushes us. But how much drive can you put in there? But going back to I didn't touch on this and I had it on the screen. Never invest money you can't lose. So that's all I'm saying. Trip, you put it in perfect words. Never invest money you can't lose. Invest the money that you don't care if you lose it all, and then that way you can invest it high. But again, if you want to invest smart and safely, there are vessels out there that will accommodate that. A savings account is not one of them. I will say that again. Bank savings accounts are freaking frauds, man. They don't give you shit because your inflation rate is so high right now. And if they're paying you a 0.01, or even let's say they're paying you a 1%, okay, most banks are paying you point zero 135. Some will say, oh, we have 8. That's a 0.08. Okay, there's not a lot of banks that are paying more than 0.1%. Or maybe there are some of these crazy banks, online banks, that pay you 1%. But if your inflation rate is at 5, what does that one do for you? Nothing. Still makes you lose your money, man. You might as well keep it under the mattress. I don't know. That's my thoughts. Um, other way of looking at it, uh, big difference in savings and investing. You know, uh, if you're looking at saving investment, in a you got to look at it. Saving short term, keeping the money with you is cool, but in a long term savings, you got to invest. Otherwise, you're gonna lose the value on it. Okay, saving is really easy. All you got to do is save, right? Cut a little bit, put it in your piggy bank or whatever, put it under the mattress or put it into the savings account. For a short term, that is cool. Having a checking and savings account is cool for a short term or as a reserve savings, but not as like actual saving that is there for you that you're gonna lose in under inflation. That's why I say understanding inflation before saving is very important. Now, same thing at the other end. Investing is harder. You got to know what to invest in, how to invest it properly, and make sure you're staying over the inflation rate and not risking it. Some of those things are what you got to look at. I'm sorry I didn't have my phone off, but there we go. So those are some of the things you have to be very considerate about. Okay, guys. Um, so protection against inflation. Okay, again, savings is not gonna have it. The potential is in the investment. Okay, what's expensive? Savings is not expensive at all. Saving just saves for you, but depending on the funds that you put in and what tax rate you are, here's the other thing that we didn't talk about: tax rates. So depending on what you're investing, so I'll give you an example. I don't know if you guys heard this story. GameStop. There was a guy that invested in GameStop, and with all the up and downs they were doing, he ultimately didn't gain a lot of money. He gained a little, but because he bought and sold and bought and sold, the government, going back to our George's original comment, getting rid of the government is not looking at how much you lost and don't care about how much you lost. What the government cares about is you're winning. So let's put it really simple. Richard said Vegas is 3 hours for him. I'm pretty sure everybody's been to a casino or has been to Vegas or somewhere. When you go gamble, you lose. Are they asking you for a W-2 to report your losses? But when you win, they're always asking for your W-2, right? Because they want to report those winnings. So I had this when I worked for HP years ago. I had this guy named Dennis. He was a senior guy. He was in his 60s, and this was when I was in California. I was in Roswell, California, and Reno was about an hour. And this guy, every weekend, he worked for HP, had a really good job, really well paid. He would go to the casino every weekend. So I asked Dennis, I was like, hey, how long you been going to the casino? He said, almost 30 years. I'm like, have you been keeping a calculation of what you've been doing? He said, yes, I have been keeping a calculation. I'm like, so are you winning or are you losing? And he said, right about the same. He said, it's a pastime for me because I only play with my extra money. There's times I gain it and then there's times I lose it. On average, because he's a well gambler and he's a very trained gambler and reserve gambler, those are the key things that he's in 20 years really hasn't gained anything but hasn't lost much either. I'm going to go to Eric. Comment, I have been looking into mutual life insurance policy which allow you to put money in and grow for you to use. How do you feel about that kind of stuff, Cash? I love it. Okay, so again, understand the mutual life insurances. IULs are the best ones that I know of. There's whole life, there's term life, there's IULs, there's a few other ones. IULs are typically, from my understanding, okay, is that it's attached to a life insurance policy. So if you pass away, your loved ones have something. But IULs usually also are investing in like a Fortune 500 for you with, like I said, a minimum guarantee of 0%, a maximum of 13 or 15%. On average, you're getting about 8 or 9% on a 20-year average historically. So it's a great thing. The other thing, what you can do with these mutual life insurance or IULs and stuff like that is that you can look at tax brackets, see how to utilize them, and know when to take it out, how to take it out. Either pay your taxes up front or pay your taxes later on. Those make a big difference. Last benefit that you may not realize is a lot of these IULs and stuff, you can invest in it and you can put your money in it, but you can also borrow it back and you don't have to pay it back. Or if you do, you're paying a low interest rate to your own self, which pays you. Okay. So there's a lot of those benefits that you guys can capitalize on. So if you don't have somebody, I do have a company that I use personally myself. My family and friends have used it. And I have a guy that I've been working with for over 10 years. I can get you a recommendation. They can come out and give you a free consultation if you want. I'm not getting nothing out of it. You can use your person, use them for free to see which one benefits you. Because at the end of the day, you need to realize what benefits you, not what benefits me or anybody else. What benefits you and your family. But if you get a free evaluation for no charge and they'll come to your house or your work or whatever, why not? So if you need the recommendation, hit me up. I'll get you a guy that actually is licensed to go anywhere in the United States or has associates that can come out to you and talk to you and show you charts and graphs and all that kind of stuff. And then they have specialists that will do different things. I'm actually trying to get this guy on here. It's just that they have a lot of legal stuff when they're coming on to a live stream that can go anyway, and they have to be very cautious on what they answer or how they answer because their licenses are at stake. So, those are the things that we're trying to get through right now before I get them on here. And hopefully we'll have them on here in a short time and we can get these answers a little bit more in depth. At that, guys, I appreciate you guys coming out and hanging out with me tonight. Everybody have a great week. If you got a dream, go chase it, work hard, kick ass, and save some money, pay off that damn debt, and let's start investing and making that money. Other than that, guys, have a great night. See y'all next time, next Monday, 8 o'clock. Have a good one.